Ken Lewicki of channelinginc.com, and this is the Ask Ken Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And today we have an exciting day. I have lots of cool questions. I'm going to be live channeling the answers. So if you are watching this right now, please feel free to type in any answer, any questions, anything like that. Also, if you are on any social medias at all, first thing is you can go to my website, channelinginc.com. You can see it at the bottom there. That's my main website. If you haven't been there yet, please feel free to check it out. I have all sorts of cool spiritual events, and I do full certification channeling training, animal communication, all sorts of really neat stuff on that website. Also, I'm on all the major social medias. So like your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Reddit, Pinterest, basically all the major ones, TikTok, anyone you could. And yes, you can follow me on more than one. So feel free to follow me on multiple platforms. And I'm on all the major social medias. So this is the way that the Ask Ken show works. This is your show. You get to ask questions about anything about spirituality or about me or anything like that. I'm not doing readings in this format, but if you want to ask any questions in general about spirituality, how different things work and operate, I will live channel the answers. This is what I do full-time for a living, is I train and teach people how to do this themselves, how to become their own psychics, how to do mediumship and readings and all sorts of cool things. So I live, breathe, eat, sleep what I teach my students. And if you take any of my certification programs, you'll see that, there's lots and lots and lots of topics that are covered in those certification workshops. So if you are watching this, two things. First of all, give a shout out, your name, where you're from. I will say hello live on air and say hello to you. And the second thing is if you do have any questions, just type it in whatever platform you're on and go ahead and type in the questions and I will live channel the answers. So the first question I am going to ask, or that's been asked of one of my students, is, when I observe my spirit guides, I observe them as orbs. How come? So there's a couple things. Is just to clarify, your spirit guides, they're people like you and I, just in non-physical form. So when you die and you cross over, you'll go to the astral realm to be with your soul family. But while you're alive, certain members of your soul family will help and assist you. Those are your spirit guides. Your spirit guides are people like you and I, just in non-physical form. Do angels exist? Yes, they do. They're totally different. They're not spirit guides. They do help with human affairs from time to time, but for the most part, angels help on more universal levels, like the big scheme, the big things going on in the universe. And your spirit guides are here to help you with your day-to-day life, like your relationships, your finances, your career path, your health, your soul's purpose, all that kind of stuff, and more, much more. That's the job of your spirit guides. That's what they help you with, those integrate into intimate no integrate those small little fine details, everyday kind of life decisions that you have to make. So how do I navigate this job situation going on at my work? Those are your spirit guides. That's where they will help you. So the question is, sometimes in their true form, a spirit guide is a soul, and a soul is like, if you psychically tune into a soul, it can present themselves as an orb because that's their true essence. However, most of the time when it comes to your spirit guides, they will present themselves as a human form, because for a number of reasons. And the number of reasons is because one of the reasons is you two have probably most likely had a past life together. So your soul, which is right here, your soul on a subconscious level remembers your spirit guide from that past lifetime. So when you tune into your spirit guide is purposely, so they can choose, because they've lived many past lifetimes just like you have. So the question is, why are they choosing this persona, this way of presenting themselves for you in this lifetime. Like they've been male, they've been female, been different demographics, different cultures and throughout history. So why are they choosing this persona? And the reason why is because they're choosing this persona because that's what you need the most. So it's about you. It's about them helping you. They could choose any persona, but they're choosing one, maybe a middle-aged female from China. I'm just making up something, right? Or maybe you have another spirit guide that's elder male, and he's from North America, from maybe a uh, native Aboriginal from North America, something like that, right? So, they'll present themselves as different personas, and the reason is because maybe that female, she's here to help you more like a sister or mother, like older sister, more like motherly kind of um, person, because that's that past lifetime that you two had together. So she's here to help you, support you that way, where this elder is more to help you, support you in like grounding, being self-centered, like centered in yourself, and riding the waves of life and things like that. So that's why they choose these different personas. They don't do it by accident. So when you're channeling your spirit guides, a little tip is first thing I suggest with my students is figure out where your spirit guides are physically around you. So what I recommend you do is you sit somewhere quiet, take a couple deep breaths, just ground yourself, center yourself, connect with source energy, like just relax into it. And then what you do is you psychically feel around you, and you ask yourself, okay, where might one of my spirit guides be? So you're kind of like feeling physically around you. And your spirit guides, they're real like you and I, just in non-physical form. They really do exist. When I started doing this in 2004, they didn't have the technology that they have now. Now they literally have technology that can capture your spirit guides on camera. How cool is that? I've seen them on like these ghost center shows and things like that. Really neat stuff. So you find out where they are physically around you, or you're kind of like psychically feeling around you. Where are they? Oh, right here. Okay. Once you know where they are physically around you, in your mind, you lock in on them, and then you increase your connection with them. Just breathe, increase your connection with your spirit guide, and then you ask, okay, so why, like when you psychically feel into your spirit guide, you say, okay, so what's the reason they're presenting themselves this way? So in your mind's eye, you're getting an image, a visual of how they're presenting themselves, or maybe a feeling of how old they are and their age and their personality and their other characteristics, their other traits. And then once you do that, then you can find out which area of your life this particular spirit guide is here to help you. And then you ask, okay, so if this is the area or areas of my life that you're here to help me with, then what is it that you want to tell me? What is it that you want to tell me, or guide me, or give me suggestions or advice about this area of my life? And one little tip on this is that try to stick to present moment questions. A lot of people want to know, like, oh, my guide's telling me that, I'm going to fill coliseums with people. I'm like, no, that's not coming from your spirit guide. That's coming from you. If you might have a goal or an aspiration of wanting to fill coliseums full of people. So another question you could ask your guide is, what do I need to do right now to fill coliseums full of people? What do I need to do right now to be a better parent? What do I need to do right now to grow my business? What do I need to do right now to help repair this relationship? Something like that. So keep bringing it back to the present moment. If you are watching this, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Ask Ken Show. My name is Ken Lewicki of channelinginc.com. Please feel free to visit my website. I have all sorts of neat, cool events that I do on a regular basis. And if you're watching this, please type in the comments your name and where you're from, and I will give you a shout out. And this is your show. So if you have any questions about spirituality, anything at all, just type it in there in the chat box there, whatever platform you're watching it on, and I will answer your questions. I will live channel the answers to their questions. Okay, so hopefully that helps about your spirit guides. Your spirit guides are essential for spiritual growth, and especially learning to channel them at higher levels, because when you learn to channel them on higher levels, they can help you with all these different areas of your life. And it's not just for spirituality, although that's, in my opinion, channeling is the foundation to all spirituality, because when you have that down packed, you can do anything with the rest of spirituality. You can, any courses you take, any trainings you take, when you know how to channel, then you're totally like rocking it, and you're totally able to do amazing things with it. So hi, Danielle from Alberta. Whereabouts from Alberta are you? How can I receive messages from my spirit guides? Okay, so this is entire like training. So if you haven't done so yet, if you look at my website, I have the entire certification workshops, like 8 to 10 hours of, or sorry, 12 to 14 hours worth of training, just level 1, and then level 2, and then level 3, and then level 4. And each one comes with like a 50-page manual. So very thorough, very comprehensive, like all sorts of topics that we cover in here, 50 pages each level. And so, how do I receive messages from my spirit guides? There's 6 different ways in general. They're called the clairs. Clair stands for clear. The 6 different ways are clairvoyant. So it's like getting an image in your mind. So in your mind's eye. So kind of like what we talked about earlier, like how is your spirit guide presenting themselves? Are they presenting themselves as a middle-aged female, an elder male, or something different? Like, but they will present themselves as people. Okay, so that's really important. But then they can give you also images in your mind, and then you interpret those images in your mind. Okay, they're not giving you this image by accident. They're giving you this image for a reason. What is that reason? What is the message behind this reason? So if you are channeling your spirit guides and you receive like a image, then ask yourself, what's the reason? What does this image mean? And how does it pertain to my life right now? What does it mean? So that's called clairvoyant, like voyant, seeing. The next one is clairaudient, and these are no particular order, so don't get caught up in the order. It's just arbitrary, random order. Clairaudient, audio, you can hear their voice in your mind, and then you interpret that message into like, what's the reason they're giving me this message. Clairsentient, sensing, and there's 2 components of clairsentient. So one is feeling, one is their emotions as well. So you can physically feel the sensations, and the other one is you can feel their emotions. Okay. So another one is clairalience, smelling. They give you a smell. So why are they giving you the smell? And then interpret that smell into a message. And then clairgustance, gustance, it's clear tasting. Why are they giving you this taste, either in your mouth or in your mind? And they're not doing it by accident. They're doing it for a reason. So what is the reason that they're doing this? Or giving you this different clair. And then the 6th one, don't forget this one, is claircognizant. That's the clear knowing. It comes from your gut. It's a clear knowing, comes quick, it comes fast, and then it's instant. It's really fast. And in my workshops, I do a whole bunch of exercises related to this that help you to really hone your clair abilities, because this is the foundation of it. So what happens is, not a mistake, but a kind of like what sort of beginners or amateurs do, is what they do with the channeling is they get hung up on their top 1 or 2 different clairs that they're the best at. But what I train my students to do is how to get good in all the 6 clairs, so that you can become very versatile. And then what happens when you do this is, let's say this middle-aged female comes in, and she wants to communicate to you through clairsentient, which is emotions. You're open to feeling her message. So you just, oh, she's giving me this message, and you're feeling the message in your physical body. And then your male guide, who might help you with like wisdom, spirituality, career path, things like that, he comes in and he wants to communicate to you through clairaudient. He wants to speak to you in your mind. You're like, okay, no problem. And he's speaking to you in your mind, and you're receiving the messages from him, from the elder, from the wise spirit guide. Through clairaudient, you can hear his voice in your mind, and you can differentiate between your own thoughts and what's coming from him. That takes practice. There's a whole bunch of exercises I have created that help you to discern the difference between the two. And then when you hear his message, what's the reason he's telling you this message? But he wants to communicate to you through clairaudient, which he wants to communicate to you through clairsentient, sensing emotions, feelings. So if I say no, I only want to communicate with my spirit guides through clairvoyant, seeing, give me an image. But they choose the way that they want to communicate with you for a reason. So don't put them in a box and say, no, I only want to communicate with you one way. An advanced channeler will be open to saying, okay, doesn't matter which spirit guide comes in, I'm open to receiving messages any and all ways, any way or all the ways that you want to receive messages. You decide. So she comes in, clairsentient, okay, no big deal. I'm receiving the message. He comes in, clairaudient, okay, no big deal. I'm getting an audible message. Great. I'm not going to dictate. So with practice, you can practice like your clairaudience, your smelling, your clairgustance, your tasting, your clairvoyance, your clairaudient, your claircognizant, your clairsentient. You practice all these clairs on purpose, and then within a very short period of time, you become versatile in all the clairs. Cool, hey? So that's the different clairs, and that's how you receive messages from them. And then what I recommend you do, especially at the beginning, is try to document them. Like try to document your messages from your spirit guides. So two things I recommend. The first one is write down the different characteristics, the different attributes of each spirit guide. So this female guide is going to have a whole different bunch of what I call energy signature components about her. So get to know those energy signature components of this female guide, and then get to know the energy signature components of this male guide, which are going to be totally different than her. And then over time, with practice, you'll be able to discern, and she might be at a different part around you, like she might be physically over here, but I know it's her because she still has the same energy signature components. Whereas he might move to this side of the room and no big deal because I know it's him because he has these different energy signature components. And then when he communicates to me, I know it's him because I can feel and tell the way that he communicates with me. When she communicates with me, I can tell it's her because her energy signature components, I know how she's communicating with me. Okay, so this is a little bit advanced training, advanced techniques, but I'm talking about this because I want you to practice this. Like, there's nothing special about me. I'm just a normal dude. If you meet me in person, just give me a hug. Let's hang out. Let's, just chat about whatever. I'm just a regular dude. The only difference between you and I is I practice more. So the techniques I just taught you, just practice. And it's not just practice. I do also recommend if you can take formal training, that will help accelerate your channeling abilities like dramatically, rather than just trying to wing it and figure it out on your own. A lot of people think that they're channeling and it's not that they're not, but when my students go through my courses, by the end of just level 1, they're 1,000 times more advanced than before level 1 because they're learning all this cool stuff. They're like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know this is the way you communicate with you guys. I didn't realize the way soul families work and the way the astral realm works and all this other stuff. And that's how I know the difference between my spirit guides and myself. And I cover all that in great detail. So welcome Nathani from Alberta. We have Danielle from Alberta Beach, and she has a question here. So I'll just read the question, but I'm not doing readings, but I'll give general answers for this context. Okay, so I'm having an issue with a parent, and I'm not sure if it's teaching lessons for me or for them. I can't get an answer from my spirit guides in regards to it because I think I am second guessing my answers. Oh, I feel you. So sorry to hear about your parent with relationships. So oftentimes when it comes to channeling, because we have a vested interest in invested emotional interest of what's going on, that's what I found is sometimes when I struggle the most of getting clear answers from my spirit guides. So a little tip, any of you watching right now, this is one of the best techniques that you can do is that first of all, like if I'm triggered or upset or, someone's pushed my buttons or something's like losing sleep over it, basically. Like it's really bothering me, a situation, a circumstance. It could be anything. So a little tip that I do is I take a deep breath, and then I just like release everything. I just ground and release everything that about that topic, about that subject. And I try to be what's called a clear channel, as clear as I can be. I know it's not necessarily simple. First thing I recommend anyone of you watching this right now is please, please, please don't make any major life don't make any major life decisions in a heightened emotional state. Don't make any major life decisions in a heightened emotional state. Always wait till you calm down, you're in a calmer state, and then if you still want to make that major life decision, then at least you're making it from a calmer state, a non-triggered state. So that's number one. So if you're ever not sure, like you're trying to channel your spirit guides, and about a certain thing, but you're just so like emotional about it, if you can, just try to wait until you're in a more calmer state. Sometimes though, there are situations where you just have to, you don't really have that time, that luxury of waiting a few days to, calm down. You have to make that decision. And, you know, for me, sometimes like use your logic, use common sense, right? You don't have to like a strategy that I use is think a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. If I make the decision, what will be the repercussions, the consequences? It could be good or bad. There could be good consequences, could be not so good consequences. But evaluate, use your logical mind if you're not sure because you're in a triggered state. What would be the consequences of me making a decision? If and sometimes you have to make that decision like almost instantly. And I use this technique on a constant, regular basis. Like, is it really worth it? Like, do I need to make this decision now, or can I wait? Or if I was to make the decision, can I make the most logical decision? When you do get into a calmer state, though, then what you do is you go back to what I just taught you about using your different clairs. So, whatever situation, in this case, with Danielle, it would be relationships. So, who am I going to call in? I'm going to call in my relationship guide. And maybe that's my female guide in this. Just again, don't get caught up. So, we all have my experience has been most people have between 3 to 5 spirit guides during any one season of our life, and each spirit guide helps us with a different area of our life. Some people have two spirit guides, some people have six spirit guides, and it can change during different seasons of your life. So one season of your life you might have 5 spirit guides, another season you might have 2, another season you might have 4, another season you might have 5, another season you might have 3. And when we're talking seasons, we're not talking like every week or anything. We're talking like a major shift in your life, maybe every few years or something like that, every few months. You might have one guide that switches out, or you might have 3 guides, and then the next season you might have 5, and the next season you might have 2. But it varies. So and don't get caught up on how many male guides you have, how many female guides you have. That's irrelevant. It's just for that season of your life, and it will change in another season of your life. Okay. So let's say, for example, I'm having relationship struggles. Who here is having relationship struggles? Anyone? Put up your hand. Right? It's just life. Like, and so it's easy to just, be upset with somebody and then you cut them out of your life, and that's that. But then you keep just revolving through people and friendships and relationships and stuff like that. And that's not, can be necessary at times, but most of the times it's about you being upset and you being triggered and in your stuff. So the first thing I always recommend to my students is, if you're ever upset in a situation or a relationship, the first thing I do is I take ownership and I ask myself, what is it inside of me that needs to be healed or cleared? What is it inside of me that is bothering me about this person? What is it inside of me that's bothering me about this situation? And then through a number of different healing modalities, healing techniques, I work on healing and clearing that. I go see other healers. Please, 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 by the way, if you're watching this, and if you go to any healers, whether it's a new one or someone make sure that they are doing their healing work themselves. Because what I've noticed is that people in the helping industry, if they're not doing their own work, they actually become more and more unhealthy over the months and years because they're not doing their own healing, clearing, along the way. So please, 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 I do my own healing work. I make sure, and I also do once a month. I do what's called Ascension Group Healing, where I heal whole groups at a time. So you can find that on my website. It's the second Wednesday of every month, depending on what time zone you're in. If you're in Asia, that would be the second Thursday of every month, where I heal whole groups at a time, and I have over 100 different healing techniques that I use, and clear ancestral, past lives, timelines, you name it, all that stuff, family issue, traumas, childhood traumas, and I could just go on and on. Different aspects of us, different components, your etheric self, your higher self, your soul healing, soul retrieval. I do all that stuff. So number one thing that I recommend, if you're ever triggered or upset about something or someone, that you take ownership and ask yourself, what is it inside of me that is bothered by this? What is it inside of me that needs to be healed around this? And then you go on working and cleaning your side of the street. Okay, because the mistake that I made in my early days is anytime I was upset about something or someone, I would want to try to change them. I would say, oh, you have to change because I'm bothered by what you're doing. But that never works, because then the next person comes along and they're doing the same similar behavior that bothers me. And then I'm trying to change them. Then I'm trying to change them. And I'm trying to change them. So please, 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 if you have a button and people are pushing that button and it keeps bothering you, it's your button. But once you heal and clear that button, there's no more button to be pushed anymore. Somebody tries to push it and you're like, oh, okay. You just observe it and it doesn't bother you anymore. Like, what a life would that be? It's a work in progress. Takes time, takes years, but it's worth it. It's worth it to do your healing work. So the question is there any lessons to be learned? I don't like the word lessons, just my personal preference. I stay away from this word. The reason why is because I have this like childhood thing where, I'm going to teach you a lesson, so I stay away from the word lessons, and I switch it with other words. Like I say, what can I learn out of this? How can I grow and evolve? What can I heal around this? And I use questions like that instead of lessons. And then I find that that is more of an empowering state, because now I'm like, okay, what can I do about it? Basically, do I need to go see a healer? Do I need to do healing on myself? Do I need to have a heart-to-heart talk with this person? And I'll be honest, like sometimes there's no there's no perfect time to have those tough conversations. Sometimes you just have to do it and try to go in there to the best of your ability with no expectations, no attachments to outcomes. How's the outcome gonna work out? You just try to go in there and drop into your body, be heart-centered. You might be still triggered because you're upset with this person or this situation or whatever, but you just try your best to be calm. And another thing that I also recommend, which is why I build community and have been building community for 20 years, is that sometimes when there's a situation like this, we're too close to be able to see it objectively. So then you can reach out to one of your classmates. If you've taken any of my channeling workshops, think of somebody that that was in your class, and maybe reach out to them. You can also book a session with me and we can cover these topics. And I'm objective because I have no attachment to it. So I'm not, emotionally vested in what's going on. And then I can walk you through, making sure that you have a clear and accurate information from your guides and you're getting clear guidance. It's one of the toughest ones. So Daniel, thank you for asking that question, because it's one of the toughest things that we all struggle with is when I'm emotionally charged, how do I get messages from my spirit guides? So another topic too that's really important is some people think that they have blocks, and let's say there's 10 people in a lineup and they all claim to have blocks, and there's a gazillion different kinds of blocks. What I found is that some people actually don't have any blocks themselves. Sometimes it's just limiting beliefs, or they don't think they can do something or whatever. So maybe 2 out of 3 of those 10, I'm just making up numbers here. Maybe 2 out of 3 of those 10 might not have any blocks at all. But then out of those other ones, the remaining, let's say 7, they might all legitimately have blocks. So then what kind of blocks, and then how do I clear them? But when people talk about blocks, I think of it like a drain, like plumbing, like a drain. So most of the time, the blocks aren't full complete blocks. There's still fluid or liquid or whatever, like water, can flow through that drain. So it's not a complete block. They're partial blocks. And maybe there might be one or two that legitimately have complete blocks. They are completely blocked in a certain way. So then with the healing modalities that I have, I can heal, like clear those blocks, flush them out, make sure that they're all clear, and then boom, they're off to the races. And it could be blocks around money, relationships, sex, spirituality. It could be around their abilities. It could be around confidence. It could be, again, I could just go on. There could be a gazillion different kinds of blocks, and then identifying it, and then the root cause of where those blocks are coming from. And oftentimes they're multifaceted. Sometimes they're from this lifetime. Sometimes they're from what's called imprints from our childhood, from our parents, imprinting these certain blocks into us, and then we carry them into our adulthood. It could be from past lives. It could be ancestral blocks. It could be timeline stuff. It could be, like I said, a lot of different things on just one block, multifaceted, on just one thing that's blocking you from progressing. So when it comes to channeling and you're in a heightened emotional state, with the healing and clearing you do over the months and the years, like attending the Ascension Group Healing, then those blocks will become less and less. Then when you are in those heightened emotional states, you're more likely, you have more ability, more clarity on being able to channel your spirit guides during those heightened emotional states, because you don't have as many of those blocks, you don't have as much of those triggers, you don't have as much of that emotional charge tainting your answers and skewing it. So that hopefully answers your question, Danielle. Thank you so much. We have Nathani from Alberta, Canada. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Carol. I feel like my connection with my spirit guides has changed. I feel stronger energy now. Is this normal to happen? So the answer is yes. Anyone listening, this is really, really, really important. This has happened to me a number of times, over half a dozen different times in my 20 years of doing this. Is I'm channeling my spirit guides a certain way, and I'm getting really good, and I'm getting better. I'm getting really good information, and then all of a sudden something happens, and it switches. And what I used to do in the beginning is I used to get like really upset, like, what's going on here? Why, like, I'm all of a sudden disconnected. I'm not getting messages from my spirit guides anymore. And I don't feel like I can connect with them as strongly and all this stuff. And it's actually not, it's, I was really hard on myself, and I used to really beat myself up and think that it was a bad thing. And then this happened, and then I would start to kind of fumble my way through, and it would take me many months, even a year or more. And then I would start to get better at, channeling my spirit guides. And then a few years later, all of a sudden everything would change, and I'd feel like I'm disconnected. I'm not connected to my guides, and I'm all this stuff. And I was really hard on myself. It was devastating to me, because now all of a sudden I supposedly lost my connection, and I couldn't connect with them at all. But actually it had nothing to do with that. It's that the way that I connected with my spirit guides changed. So it's kind of like, if you think of like a computer system, and the way that it communicates with the outside world, it's a certain way. And then you take out one of the hardware, one of the components, you take it out, and then you put in a new component, a new update or upgrade. And now the way that it communicates with the outside world needs to be recalibrated for that new infrastructure that's been put in place in that computer system. Same concept. Is sometimes what will happen is we'll just go through a massive upgrade and a shift, and then everything is different the way that we communicate with our spirit guides, and not just our spirit guides, but ascended masters, and sprites, fairies, dragons, angels, and on and on and on, all those different things that we communicate with, because we're different. So a little tip, Carol, that you can do is, and this goes for anyone if you've had this happen recently, is what I do when these happen. It doesn't happen that often, but every few years, is I go and I get curious. I ask myself, okay, how is my connection different now? How do I communicate differently now with my spirit guides? And then I take a deep breath, and I work on establishing a connection with one spirit guide. So again, find out where they are physically around you. Oh, this guide's here, and then work with your guide. You're collaborating with your spirit guide. How is my connection different now, and how can you help me to recalibrate my connection with you? It's not really recalibrate; it's not the right word, but like because it's already there. It's just different. So how do I connect with my spirit guides differently than before? And so you're updating to the now. Updating to the now means this is the way I used to communicate with my spirit guides, but this is the way I communicate with my spirit guides now. How can I update to the now and be okay with it? Don't be upset, because I've had some of my students, and I've gone through this too, where they're like, oh, I just want it to be the way it was. I wanted to, where I could do this, I could do that. Okay, that's the way you used to maybe do it when you were a child or in your 20s or whatever. It's different now. Accept it and embrace the new way that you're able to communicate with your spirit guides, and then work on really enhancing it. And you'd be surprised, the way that you communicate with them now could be 1,000 times more advanced than the way you used to before, if you're open to it and you're welcome to it. So it's kind of like putting that new hardware in. It's a new updated version, but if you're only using it at 10% of the capacity, you're still going to be as the same as before or even less. But if you use it at 60, 70, 80, 90% of the capacity, now you're going to way surpass the way you were before. Okay, your infrastructure has changed. You welcome it. Okay. We have Andrea. Andrea, where are you from? Just come and say hi and where you're from. Karina is from British Columbia, Canada. Welcome. Carrie, if you are watching this, please give a shout out, your name, where you're from, so I can say hi to you. Thank you, Carol, for saying happy birthday to Carrie, which is really sweet. See, I love my students know each other and they're talking and chatting, so that's really beautiful. So hi, Lori. Welcome, Lori Parks. Just what I needed. Um, if you're being taken advantage of, how do you be okay with that? This person won't do their part to care for our mother. So let's just talk about the topic about if you're being taken advantage of. This has happened to me a number of times. Those of you who know my past know a lot more detail that I'm not going to share here on air, but it was quite traumatic for me, and it took me several years to recover from being taken advantage of in the spirituality industry, and not just once but several times over the 20 years. So you're learning from it. So again, what's my lessons? I don't use the word lessons, but how can I learn from this? And I have learned from this. So taken advantage of, what I recommend we do with and this is where channeling is so powerful. Channeling is a game changer, especially with situations like this, work situations, relationship situations. If we are being taken advantage of, this is what I do. Okay, so first thing I do is I connect with the spirit guide that wants to help me with this topic, with this situation, with this area of my life. And then first of all, I figure out, okay, which guide is it? Okay, so which guide wants to come in with this? Oh, physically locate. Okay, which guide is it? It's my career guide. It's a male. Just making this up. It might not be a male for you. It might be a female who helps you with your career. I'm just using this as an arbitrary example. So it's my career guide. He's here to help me with my career. And I have this situation in my job situation where I'm being taken advantage of. And then maybe my relationship guide wants to come in. She wants to come in as well, because it has to do with my career and my relationship. So between the two of them, they're going to collaborate and help work with me to help navigate this situation. And so then what I do, okay, you ready for this? This is cool. This is cool stuff. So oftentimes when we have a situation going on in our life, we as humans, we look at it observe it from this 3D perspective, this earthly perspective, really low level, kind of like, oh, this person triggered me and is upset, and and we're all in our anger and our sadness, our grief, our 3D world, like emotions, and just looking at all of it from that perspective. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm human too. I still do that from time to time, not as much, not as long, but I still do. But a technique that I've developed that I train my students in, channeling level 2, workshop, the level 2 workshop, is I teach my students how to work with their guides, their spirit guides, to see their vantage point on this situation and circumstance. So how do my spirit, this is a very important question. If you're watching this and you haven't taken notes, ask your spirit guides, how do you observe this situation from your perspective in the astral realm, in the fourth dimension, from this higher perspective? Because they can see things that we can't from their vantage point. And then you ask them this question, because now you can get a perspective like, maybe this person's doing it intentionally. Maybe they're doing it unintentionally. Maybe they are just operating off of, past triggers or traumas from their past. Maybe they're being naive about it and not realizing it. Maybe, and then the bigger question though is what can I do about it? What can I do about this? So maybe it's healthy boundaries. Maybe it's, you know, creating some separation. Maybe it's having that tough conversation like I talked about earlier. And, just again, try to do it from a place where you're not triggered, but sometimes that's hard because you're already upset about it. And then also remember that most of those times when you're being taken advantage of, you have options. You're in control. You can be, if you choose to be. Not all the time, but most of the time you can, more times than not. So with your spirit guides help, they can help you to navigate this situation gracefully. And notice I'm using the word gracefully because sometimes we can go in there and we can try to, change it, but we can make even a bigger mess. Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm laughing at myself. And so with those spirit guides help, they can help us to go, okay, Ken, first thing, we need to do some healing on this. Second thing, we need to do some clearing on that. Third thing is you need to go reach out to another healer to heal it even more, because the deeper stuff, because you're upset about this. And then the other thing, then your spirit guide might be, okay, in this situation, take a step back and how can you respond to this? Do you need to send a message? Do you need to have a phone call? Do you need to meet with them in person? Like, what can you do to navigate this? Do you need to get like legal involved? That might be a last resort, but it might be the only resort, like, the law system or whatever, legal system. So, there's all these options, but you want to kind of think it through. Again, think long term. So if you're watching this and you want to write something down, write down, play the long game. Okay, you can write that down, play the long game. Make decisions and thinking 2 months from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. If I make this decision, how is this going to have repercussions in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? And I also use the concept of play the long game with like my goals, my aspirations. Like, what do I need to do on a daily, regular basis to move my business forward? What do I need to do on a daily, regular basis to fulfill my soul's mission, or why I'm here, like my soul's purpose? Like, and I do this very intentionally, very on purpose. And I try to do something every day towards these goals. Maybe it's, I need to add more play in my life because that's part of my soul's mission for this season of my life, things like that. But I'm very intentional about it and I'm playing the long game. Maybe I need to eat healthier and exercise, because if I don't and I let my health slide in 5-10 years, I'm going to be obese and I'm going to have to, pay the consequences of that, of obesity, diseases and other things that could have been avoided. So I play the long game, play the long game, play the long game. Okay. So think of these things. If you're watching, please leave a message with your name and where you're from so I can give you a shout out. Thank you, Lori. She's just thanking me for. Okay. So we have Grace. Hello, Grace. Welcome. She's in Australia, Perth, Australia. Thank you for tuning in. Best decision she made was taking all my channeling, my certification workshops. Thank you, Grace. It was so great having you in all my classes, including my level 4, my animal healing and communication. How cool was that? Debbie, listening from Alberta Beach. Hoping you had an amazing Christmas and wishing you a happy New Year. And I'm currently living in Bali, Indonesia, which is just amazing. And this is my first winter in my entire life without any snow. So like, I'm like, what? How can it be Christmas time? And what's really neat is like, I love hippie stuff. I'm like a hippie at heart, and I own it and I rock it. I'm like, yeah, I'm a hippie. I own it. I'm a weird person. I own it. I own my weirdness. I own my being different, and I love it. And being here in Bali, they had like the most hippie Christmas ever with like sexy Santa dancing with his sunglasses and all this stuff. It was just so fun, and like this like kirtan kind of music where you're singing along, but they changed it into like sort of Christmassy kind of holy music and all this fun stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God. And my heart is still, even to this day, so filled with joy and love. And like, this is spirituality. So those of you who know me, spirituality is meant to be what? Fun, right? Spirituality is meant to be fun. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a time and place where you have to go into the nitty gritty, the icky, gooey kind of stuff, and you do that real quick. You deal with it, and then you get back into the fun and the play with spirituality. And then when something icky and ucky comes up and surfaces, okay, you deal with it, and then you heal that, clear it, and then you get back into the play and the joy with spirituality and have fun with it. So just this is what I did over Christmas is I just like, oh my goodness, even last night I went out dancing, and things like that. Why? Because it brings joy and fun to my life. And there's healing in joy, there's healing in fun, there's healing in laughter. And there's also the other kinds of healings, and they're all necessary. So please don't discount and say, oh, I'm just gonna never do that and just do this. Sometimes there's a time and place for this, sometimes a time and place for that, and knowing when's when. And I'm just having so much fun right now doing this, the Ask Ken show. So thank you all for tuning in. The next question is, how can I receive messages from other people's spirit guides? So this is my channeling level 2 workshop where I teach people how to do spirit guide readings. So I'll teach you how to basically be your own psychic, how to get messages for yourself, how to get messages from your soul, your higher self, your spirit guides. So being your own psychic. Then in later levels, I teach you how to be a psychic medium reader and do all these things for other people if you choose to. And we all have before. We all have. Like, have you ever, you're talking with somebody, chatting with someone, and then all of a sudden you say something to them and they're like, wow, Ken, that's like amazing. Like, how did you know that? Like, where did that come from? That's so profound. And you're like, I don't know. It just kind of came to me. Most likely that means you were channeling them or channeling their spirit guides. So we've all done this before. What I do is I train my students on how to get messages, how they know where they're getting their messages from, and then how to get very specific, detailed messages and be intentional about it rather than just a random occurrence, just some sporadic, just kind of comes once in a while, whatever. No, you can do this every day. You can do it like, I meet for people at a restaurant and I'm like, oh yeah, you have a spirit guide right here. And this is a female and this is what she's saying to you. And this is the area of your life that she works with you on. And this is a male. And I'm doing it live, just like I'm talking with you right now. And where, I'm taking a bite in between breaths and just hanging out. And it's a normal everyday part of your life. Like, no big deal. What do you do? Okay, so what? I'm hanging out. I'm at work. I'm channeling. I'm at, out at a restaurant hanging out with friends. Okay, I'm channeling. I'm sitting around the coffee table. I'm channeling. I'm wherever I'm at the grocery store. I bump into someone. Maybe it's somebody I know. Maybe it's a stranger. I'm channeling. So you can use these skills and these techniques anywhere to get spirit guide readings or loved one readings or, and it's not just a random occurrence anymore. And it's just such an amazing, beautiful way to live. And imagine how much better your life would be if you were able to follow your guidance from your spirit guides on a regular, everyday basis in all the areas of your life. How life-changing that would be. So when you are channeling, what I do recommend you do with channeling your own guides is practicing with them your own like the clairs, the 6 clairs that I talked about earlier at the beginning of this broadcast, is practicing getting messages from your spirit guides. And then when you want to get messages from other people's spirit guides, you do the same thing. You work with your spirit guide though, and you channel that person's spirit guide. Okay, so who is this spirit guide of theirs? Are they male? Are they female? What's their demographics? What's their personality traits? What's their characteristics? What area of their life are they here to help them with? What is the message that they want to pass along from this area of their life? So the reason why I don't teach this until level 2 is because what most people want to do is they want to focus on other people and other people's problems and all this other outside stuff. Purposely, the way I've structured my curriculum is level 1's all about you. I want you to work on you, getting your house in order, learning to channel your guides really well. And then later in level 2, level 3, level 4, I'll teach you how to channel other people's spirit guides and pass along messages for them. So while you're getting your house in order, while you're working on your own stuff, you also can start helping other people, because a lot of people in the helping industry, me included, especially back in my early days, is I would just get so busy helping other people that I wouldn't focus on my own stuff, because it's always easier to focus on other people's problems and not focus on mine. But they usually end up catching up to me, and that doesn't work out so well. So get really good at channeling your own guides. Then you can work on channeling your own other people's spirit guides and also other people's loved ones, which is really fun and really cool. Okay. The next question is, can an ascended master be a spirit guide? So the answer is yes. The answer is most likely not. So there's two answers to that. A lot of people want like the Jesuses and the Shivas and the Tolts and the Mother Marys, and all that other stuff, the Buddhas and all that, to be their spirit guide. And so I'm going to say this, most likely you don't have an ascended master who's a spirit guide. And here's the reasons why. Is because, first of all, most likely they're not members of your soul family. And the other reasons is because very few ascended masters actually incarnate on this planet, because they're busy in the astral realm doing higher level kind of functions, operations, duties, like mentoring other souls to become spirit guides and mentoring other souls in different capacities in different ways. One of the things that I've seen people do is there's like this ascended master or like a deity or whatever, and they praise and worship this deity as like their spirit guide, but they're not. So then what happens is they're kind of giving their power away to something that's not even related to them. I'll give you an example. When I was here in Bali, there was different, like I went to like this water temple, and there was these different water fountains, and there was like 9 of them. And instead of me just, going under the water because I have channeling abilities, I'm like, okay, what is this deity that they have, this god? Because there's a statue, and each statue is different, represents a different one. But instead of just being a physical statue, I'm like, okay, who are they relating to, and who's the deity behind this statue? So I would connect. First, I would check with my spirit guides, is it safe to connect? And I got a yes. So I connected with that one. I'm like, oh, okay, this one is total different energy. How is it here? What, this and that, all that stuff. And then I did the next one, and then the next one. They were all completely different. What I did not do was I did not worship them, because why? I did not take them on and start asking them questions about my personal life, like my relationships and my career path, anything like that, because they're not my spirit guides. But I can revere them and respect them and honor them. And I do. They're beautiful and they're amazing. Like when I did that, I was like literally like crying almost every one. And some, like I had massive goosebumps, and other ones I was like, hallelujah. I was like floating in heaven. Like it was just amazing. And each one did, helps in different ways for that moment. And then when it was done, it was like, thank you very much. I honor them. And then I moved on, keep working with my spirit guides. So it just to tell you how rare somebody having an ascended master as a spirit guide, it's extremely, extremely rare. In my 20 years, I've only come across maybe 1 or 2 people who actually legitimately have an ascended master as a spirit guide. There are ones that are I've come across ones that are, so just because we want someone to be something, that doesn't mean that is, just because we want it to be a certain way. Oh, but I want Jesus to be my spirit, or Buddha, or whoever, Thoth or whatever. I want this ascended master to be my spirit guide. Just because you want it to be someone doesn't mean that that's who it is. Now, I tune into ascended masters once in a while, just for fun because they're amazing. They do have amazing energies, but I don't get guidance from them because they're not my spirit guides. But they're amazing souls to connect with, and I love connecting with them. But why would I ask, a certain ascended master about, this relationship that I'm going through or my soul's purpose when they're not my spirit guide? They're not most likely not a member of my soul family. So they don't know these answers. It's like, okay, I see this guru person across the street and I start asking him all these questions about my personal life. And he's like, I don't know. I don't really know you because I'm not, So instead, I would ask a mentor who does know me and works with me on a regular daily basis. That's my spirit guide. I could still revere this guru guide on the other side of the street or whatever, and honor him for what he's done with his life and how he's helping people and how he's making a positive impact in this world. But to go and get personal advice from him doesn't really make sense. Okay. So Lori has a question here. Learn to not just certain people. So can you ask that question in a different way, Lori? What I want all of you to do, if you're watching this, is please get really, really good at channeling your own spirit guides. So one of the things that I teach my students is don't make this stuff up anymore. Don't be like, um, the days of making stuff up and guessing or making assumptions are over. Like instead of that, ask, okay, so who right now in this present moment are my spirit guides? How many spirit guides do we have? Usually 3 to 5. So first of all, how many spirit guides do I have right now in this current season of my life? Have enough humility to be okay with whatever answer that is. Okay, it's 3 spirit guides. Great, I have 3, not 5, not 12, not all these other big numbers. Doesn't mean you don't have your ancestors and other, souls around you that are helping and support you. You probably have a big team, you know, um, having your back and stuff like that. But the actual spirit guides in the season of your life most likely is 3 to 5. So if you have 3, it's 3. It's not 5. It's not 7. It's not some other number. It's 3, and that's okay. I only have right now 2 spirit guides in this season of my life, and a third one that's kind of like a visiting guide. That's another topic. But I'm okay with that. And the last season I had like 4, and then the season before I had like 3, and then the season before I had like 5. But right now I have 2 and a partial one, a visiting spirit guide. So the question is can I be okay with how many spirit guides I have right now? And then the next question is who is this guide? Most likely it's someone you've known from a past lifetime, not this lifetime. So it's like, okay, but I want my grandma to be my spirit guide. Okay, well, grandma might be your spirit guide, but most likely she's not. Most likely she's a loved one. It doesn't mean she can't come in and, support you and all that, but she's not going to guide you into different areas of your life. That's not her role. That's not her job. Maybe she will later in another season of your life, but right now, if she's just a loved one, she's a loved one. Be okay with that. But who is your spirit guides? Who are they? Who are your spirit guides? And how are they here to help and support you? Get to know them and have enough humility to be okay with whoever your spirit guides are, that's who they are right now, knowing that will change at some point. And then when you get to this point where you're just like, yeah, I know who my spirit guides are, and you rock it, and you're like, I know why they're here. They're here for a reason, and how they're here to help me, and I can get very specific, detailed messages from them. Then my life can really accelerate because now I'm not making stuff up anymore. I'm not guessing. I'm not making it seem like, oh, I want it to be this ascended master, but it's really not. So then you're kind of just thinking, oh, I want it to be this angel, but it's not. But you just want it to be. But when you actually precisely know who your spirit guides are and you're not making this stuff up anymore, then you can really accelerate your channeling growth. You can really accelerate your spiritual growth. So the question from Lori is, can everyone connect with their spirit guides? It's not just a gift. So my question is, what's the reason you're asking this question? Is it for you or is it for someone else? The other question is, the answer is yes. Everyone can channel and everyone does channel, whether they think it or not. Let's say there's a mechanic and he knows nothing about spirituality, not interested at all, thinks it's a bunch of hogwash, thinks it's a bunch of, it's a sham or whatever, right? He channels. Yeah. Your parents, who may not be into any of this, they channel. We all channel. Even if we don't know that we channel, we channel. The difference that I do is I teach people to how they can know what they're doing and know what they're doing at very high levels so that they can be very intentional about it and get very detailed, specific, precise information from each one of their guides, and do it safely. Make sure you're operating in the light, you're working in the light, hence the term light worker, so that you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be, or not. And even if you're not doing spirituality, even that mechanic, or anyone, they can be inadvertently channeling something they shouldn't, even if they don't know that's what they're doing. And then something not of the light comes across their path, and then all of a sudden they're like all weird and angry or acting strange and all that. And it's because they picked up something that's not of the light. Whether they believe in channeling or not, that spiritual thing is still affecting them. So why not learn how to identify these things, so that if something like that comes across your path, I'll teach you how to get rid of it, how to make sure you don't deal with, like, you basically you expel it from your presence, and then it's never affecting you ever again, and you continue operating in the light, operating in the light, operating in the light. Always operate in the light. Don't go dabble in that stuff. Don't go looking for that stuff. Just continue operating in the light. If something not of the light comes across your path, I'll teach you how to deal with it, get rid of it, so you can continue operating in the light. Now, don't kid yourself. Whether you believe in channeling or not, this stuff can affect you. Whether you believe in channeling or not, it can still have a real world negative, detrimental impact on you and your life. So we want to clear that stuff, identify it, know what it is, the odd time, the rare time that it does come across your path. For me, it's like every few months or something like that will happen. And through getting spiritual upgrades and healing, you're less likely to have those, less frequently will those things not of the light affect you. Okay, so that's just being honest. If you're watching, just tuning in, feel free to write your name and where you're from so I could give you a shout out. This is the Ask Ken Show. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't had a chance to visit my website yet, channelinginc.com, and like I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, I am on all the social medias, and you can follow me on more than one, like YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Reddit. I'm on pretty much all the major social media websites. And my life's mission is to make this world a better place by teaching people how to channel. Because can you imagine how much better the world would be if everyone knew how to channel and are doing what they're really meant to do with this lifetime? Can you imagine how much better the world would be? And so that's why I do what I do. I have tons and stacks of trainings and modalities, and I put all those aside so I can do this one mission, which is make this world a better place by teaching people how to channel. Because the reason why I do this is I think back to me and my journey in my life is, if I had someone like me who I could as a mentor and someone I could learn from back in my early days 20 years ago when I learned how to channel, imagine where I would be now if I had someone like me to teach me how to channel properly and safely. I went through a real struggle in my early channeling, my awakening, where I was channeling things naively. I just didn't know any better. And I was like, oh, what's this? I'll channel that. Oh, what's that? I'll channel that. I was channeling anything and everything. No, please don't do that. Always work with your spirit guides. That's why I always recommend this Ask Ken show today has been mostly about your spirit guides, because your spirit guides will always, 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 always have your highest and greatest interest in mind. And I could confidently say that. They will never make anything bad happen to you. Something bad might happen to you, and they might be warning you, hey, pay attention, or slow down or whatever. And then you don't heed their warnings. And then as a result of that, consequences happen. But it's not your spirit guides that caused that to happen. It's you not heeding their warnings when they were trying to warn you long before. So your spirit guides, in the same context, is your spirit guides will also let you know what's safe to channel and what's not safe to channel. And always, always honor what they say, even if you're tempted to try to channel other things. Most things are fine, like, the elementals, like sprites, fairies, dragons, crystal divas, pixies, angels are fine, things like that. But sometimes what happened to me was I was channeling things I shouldn't have been, and I didn't know any different at that time, but now I know better is to check with my spirit guides first. So remember how I mentioned about, channeling those different deities. I checked with my spirit guides first if that was okay and appropriate. And then once they gave the go ahead, then I'm like, okay, fair game, let's do it. But if they would have said no, I would have honored that and not done it. Okay, so very, very important. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Sophia just tuned in from Vancouver. Thank you, Sophia. If you have any questions, comments, and if you would like to have your questions answered on the next Ask Ken show, which is always the fourth Wednesday of every month or the fourth Thursday, depending on what time zone you're in, just go ahead and private message me or leave it in the comments below, and I will add that to my list of questions to be asked. And if you would like to attend my Ascension Group Healing, which is the second Wednesday of every month or the second Thursday of every month, where I do like hardcore intense healing. I use channeling to do this, and we also do I do a whole bunch of spiritual upgrades. I say we because it's not just me, it's like a whole spiritual team that is involved in those Ascension Group Healings. They're just phenomenal and life-changing. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Namaste from Bali, and we will talk soon. Have a good day.